What's up, guys? Magna here, back again with another video. So, as a kid, I used to love going to IGN, looking at the reviews of games, right, to kind of form an opinion on them, and then, actually play the game and decide if that opinion is correct or not. I haven't done that in a long time. I'm 30, about to be 32 actually, and it's been a long time since I've even cared about someone else's opinion on a game, especially a company. But IGN released a review of Wuthering Waves, and I thought, you know what? Let's see if their opinions on the game, the reviews, hold up to how I feel about it.
Heart rate should be fast. I think.
You're awake.
Right from the start, Wuthering Waves' odd mix of swords, guns, and spirits sets the stage for its apocalyptic battlefront, somehow combining disparate ideas into a combat spectacle.
Let the winds
Oh,
blow.
it's great combat.
This story-driven gacha RPG will have you twirling like a ballerina, dodging attacks, and then passing the baton to a teammate to slam
Hell
the
yeah,
enemy
with the
a
parry
fish-like
system,
dragon.
dodging,
Unfortunately, while those
character
flashy,
kits.
fast-paced fights and its parkour-like movement are exciting, Wuthering Waves also fails to impress in a few other key areas, like its lackluster story that makes the skip button look tempting at times.
So you don't.
Look, I'm gonna agree with him, okay? The first half of the story was just info dumping, okay? It wasn't great. I can't tell you how many times I heard Rover and literally wanted to shoot myself, okay? Anytime I got to a new part of the cutscene, Rover, Rover, that voice was just pissing me the fuck off, okay? But when you get to the second half of the story, you still hit Rover. But the game itself, mixed with the storytelling that it was doing for that last 3 chapters, that's the sauce right there, okay? It was a great time, great moments, great cutscenes, right? They got the atmosphere right. I felt like the voice acting got better. I don't know what that's about. But that's just my opinion.
Don't know why you're here, where you're from, or who you are.
See what you gotta say, IGN. Jess Rays. Okay.
Wuthering Waves is all about action. Every character has an element and weapon type associated with them, as well as individual skills that you can level up. However, how you use those characters isn't quite a copy-paste of similar action RPGs
That's right,
like
it's not.
Genshin Impact.
It's
That's
its
thanks
own
in part
different
to the
game.
intro and outro skills that can be used when you swap between each character in your
Amazing
three-person
mechanic.
team,
Watch and learn.
which activate cool special attacks like a fire-infused shootout. You also charge up a separate skill gauge by dishing out damage or successfully dodging and parrying enemy attacks.
Moment of resonance.
And these systems add an appreciated layer of strategy to how you build your party and when exactly to change teammates. It's a little disappointing.
I
that
do
the
like how this
elemental
guy's
system
using
is
basic
essentially just a
characters,
palette
except now
swap
he pulls
between
out the
characters,
Gion.
but their actual movesets are still varied enough that experimenting with team comps is quite fun.
It's very versatile.
Gear is also not quite what you'd expect. Rather than using traditional equipment like helmets and gloves, you strengthen your characters with
Gotta catch 'em all, okay?
animal-like companions that increase your attack, elemental damage, and so on. The strength of those buffs depends on how many of the same type you equip at once, and each echo takes up some of the limited space in your equipment slots.
Okay.
These
a
restrictions
good explanation
encourage
of
you to
it.
figure out how to squeeze in the most buffs you can, even if that means temporarily using echoes with suboptimal stats.
Now, he's
best-
referring to it as buffs, right? You only can have really, if you're talking about set buffs, right, you only can have really 2 at a time, right? Unless they create multi-sets, whatever the case may be. You only can have 2 buffs at a time, right? Now, trying to get as many stats as possible, that's a whole different thing, right? Now we're going more towards the equipment side of things, at least that's how I see it, where you could have your set, which you can easily build with any echo of the same type, but your stats, that's where the real challenge comes online, because you not only want that buff from the elemental choice, but you also want the stats to be good. You need them to line up with how your character's built, and that right there is how they get you to grind for hours and hours and hours.
The best part about echoes is how they tie into the environment. As you fight enemies and bosses, they'll sometimes leave behind ghost-like shells of themselves for you to absorb and convert into
Not
echoes.
some stupid animation.
That
Oh,
makes
there's
exploration more
animation, but
appealing
not
because
that bad.
finding different types of monsters could mean getting access to new kinds of buffs. Not only does this system reward you with interesting gear for your characters, it encourages you to fill out your map as you go. Bulldozing through the same enemies over and over again to collect echoes can start to feel repetitive after a few dozen hours, but at least they also get you points
Any grinding
in a
does, though, at the end of the
collection
day.
guidebook, as well as a battle pass full of rewards. So there are reasons
I get
to hunt
bored
them beyond
grinding
just
relics
upping
in
your stats.
Star
Gotta
Rail.
catch 'em all.
I was waiting for that one.
Even when happily farming, one part of Wuthering Waves that totally falls flat is its story. Developer Kuro Games
The first
openly
half
spoken
of it.
about how it had to
The first half.
revamp the entire story.
Yeah, I
ahead
think
of
the
launch.
second half
And
is what they
sadly, the
revamped.
version we ultimately got still falls short, with uneven pacing and too much exposition. The beginning is full of unnatural, lengthy conversations that use cryptic terminology you need to look up in
dude, I can't even argue with
encyclopedias and
that.
loading
I can't.
screens to actually understand. And
He's
it doesn't
right,
get any more
you know?
compelling once you do.
A lore dumped you.
Tengu
A lore
Turbo
dumped you hard.
use the gourd-shaped device every resonator has.
Your main character follows the classic trope of an amnesiac protagonist that seemingly appears out
Yeah,
of
okay,
nowhere,
that right there
with a
is pretty
generic
common.
story that revolves around the secrets of their past.
But that can drop you like a
can
god
work if
level
done
character, right?
But this setup feels confusing and undeserved because of all the history and jargon thrown at you without any explanation as to how all of it connects.
I'd like to
Things
see,
start
like,
clear up in the
just want to say, right? It starts off very basic, okay? The same, I don't remember anything. Oh my god, because no one's ever done that story before. I would love to see like a returnee as your main character, and then it becomes, oh, okay, I remember some of these moments, and they make comments on it. I feel like that would be a good way to like separate yourself from the crowd. Just saying. Someone take that idea.
in the later acts of the first chapter, only for it to introduce more characters that divide your attention before you even
They're
get to
showing
know
off all
them.
the standard
And it doesn't help that the
banner
voice
and
acting
4-star
sounds
characters.
borderline monotone across the board, even during intense cutscenes.
I'm fine
Like I
too.
said, it gets better.
I've
It's not
never
great though.
seen such a formidable tacitus
Second half
sword
is
before.
definitely
Side quests
much
don't
better
do
than the
much to
first.
deepen the connection between the characters and the setting either. You can witness the
I
dangers of
skipped
this
those.
apocalyptic
Yeah.
environment, like dying NPCs and comrades that melodramatically tell you to go on without them. But there's nothing that truly makes you think anyone important will get hurt.
Anyway,
That's
please
okay.
allow me to introduce myself.
Well, this is all fine
I am
because this
Tatsuya.
game's really
Small
about the
things,
grinding
like the
and
very
the
few
combat
moments
and
when
the
your
end
hero
game.
suddenly speaks despite otherwise being largely silent are also jarring. At some points, it's enough
I
to
still
just
like
make you
that they
wanna
speak,
mash
though,
buttons and
right?
quickly skip through a tedious conversation or leave a scene on autoplay in the background. Kuro Games occasionally attempts more meaningful side quests, like one about a monster mourning its mate and a researcher who similarly lost their partner, but
I have
not
a lot
enough
of side
them
quests to
stand
do.
out.
I gotta get to
You're
those
all
ones.
right, it seems.
These memorable quests are more of a rarity than the norm. Even when you have big side quests,
That's okay, it
waiting to
gives
be
me easy
completed
rewards,
After the roughly
all right?
20-hour main story,
Your boy need to hit
the large
UL40.
text blocks that always accompany them make them daunting to get started. Playing through these missions for their rewards alone is at least a compelling incentive, because they
That's
won't
right, it
exactly
is.
have you perched on the edge of your seat expecting some big surprise.
That's fine. They're side quests. I don't expect them to be like grade A. Maybe like something that
Thankfully,
catches
the
my
rewards
attention
for
once in a
climbing the
while.
ranks are tantalizing enough on their own. Wuthering Waves uses a fairly standard gacha system where you trade in-game currency for random character and weapon pulls, complete with the usual pity system to make sure
I wonder if he's gonna mention it. Because it does.
you eventually
I'll
get a
let him- I'll let him
high-quality
keep talking.
reward.
Let him keep talking.
That said, this pity system is more generous than many other games.
That's
in the
right, it
genre,
is.
only taking 80 gacha pulls to get a guaranteed 5-star character or item, versus the 90 plus you'll generally see.
Kuro won
It
on
also
that one.
offers tons of free resources during the initial honeymoon phase, too, handing out dozens of pulls whenever you climb 10 or so ranks, alongside other systems that make them
Okay.
particularly
Yeah,
easy to
yeah,
earn
yeah,
at
they're
the beginning.
generous. They're
You're
very
even
generous.
guaranteed to get at least one random 5-star character right away, plus another 5-star character of your choice after 80 pulls.
Yep.
And on top of that, Wuthering Waves is handing out a free pass that will be available until next year for another 5-star character.
Okay,
That means you could have
okay.
at least 2 top-tier fighters in your party within the first few hours of playing, and a third if you stick around for a couple more.
This flower is for you. I hope it makes you happy.
You
You're
can.
still at the luck
and
of the
it's
draw
great.
beyond that, but it feels generous out of the gate, especially for any gacha game fans burnt out on bad pulls elsewhere. Some of the characters do
Okay, I'll start off with this, right? He also forgot to mention guaranteed 5-star weapon. Okay, it's not off a pity system. You hit a hard pity. It's not 50-50. It's not 75-25. It is 100%. You're gonna get that weapon. Okay, which I wholeheartedly enjoy because it's nothing worse, right? Let me tell you, there's nothing worse than losing on a 75-25, okay? Let me tell you how pissed off and how unlucky you have to be to lose to that 75-25. Because 50-50, right? You know, it's like I half, you know. I may get it, I may not. I'm okay with those odds. But I lose a 75-25 to a goddamn Lycone again. I will uninstall my goddamn game. So help me God. Because losing to that, you just feel like, wow, I cannot let it get away with that. It just did me dirty. Okay? Fuck that noise. Anyways, second point. They really, with those free 5-stars, they really kind of get you like, guess what, guys? If you didn't think you had enough for the end game, you now have the power to get 2 5-stars easy. Not only are you going to be overpowered, or it can get you to the end game faster. You might not get to high levels of the end game, but it's going to get you there and get you hooked because you feel like a goddamn superhero. Great move on their part.
feel underpowered compared to others, which is sort of inevitable in games where the cast grows over time like this. However, Wuthering Waves does its best to offer future-proof free-to-play characters that'll make it easier to build
amazing
optimized
free-to-play
rotations without having to
characters.
constantly keep up with the new releases.
It's
you unlock
amazing.
6 4-star characters for free through the story that can charge your party's energy,
Easy.
strengthen their attacks, and heal as needed.
Commence healing.
And the
It's
healer's
great
actually
that
good,
this foundation,
which is crazy.
Plus those guaranteed 5-star characters make it so that beginners can start building strong team comps that feel satisfying right away.
That's right. It does. I agree with him.
Moment of resonance.
Let me see
Wuthering Waves'
what the verdict
combat-heavy
is.
action, quick movement, and enticing Echo Collection enhance combat and exploration enough to let it respectably stand out from its competitors.
Storm, hear my command.
The fights are polished and sophisticated, rewarding reactivity and optimal builds and teams. On top of that, the Echo equipment system ties your character
Tactics.
progression into the environment in a way that encourages you to uncover every inch of
And
the map,
hard work.
which can be satisfying despite the repetitive process of fighting overworld mobs. Unfortunately, the story is a bland, exposition-heavy slog with dull
It'll get
writing
better.
and
It's
voice
it's
acting.
first patch, guys. First patch. Come on.
It's
only the first patch.
So while the quests aren't its main draw, Wuthering Waves is still worth looking into
7,
as a
huh?
refreshing spin on the typical open.
All right, so they gave them a 7, right? For some reason in my head, I thought they would rate it something lower. I thought they would go story horror on it, really, and really let that impact the overall experience. Which story is a very important part of the experience, but if you play gacha games, you know that the first patch's story isn't always enticing, right? It's not till you get further into the story itself where it starts improving and just kind of dragging you into these unique and fun experiences. Though Kuro Games could have done better on that first half of the story, I think it ended on a high note and it was good. Now, 2 things I want to mention here. First of all, I think it's an 8. Okay, I do think this game is an 8. All right, it's not perfect. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm now, and I do appreciate that they did not mention really any of the bugs, any of the like first few week launch problems. Maybe because it wasn't fully common across the board, right? Not everyone was having it. There was optimization issues, but they solved it fast. They compensated properly. They didn't mention anything about it. You know what I mean? Not really to an extent. They briefly went over the free 5-star selector, which was great. Awesome. I think them mentioning that is a good way to kind of show to people, hey, yeah, you know, join now up until next year. you get the 5-star selector in it, which is very generous, and it helped ease into that topic of generosity and things you can get from it. Um, that being said, though, right? This game, it's more for people that want to play it. You know, if you want just to watch a story, you know, there are plenty of games out there that are very heavy story based. Anime itself is, just watch a few episodes of that. This game is for the grinders, okay? Those who want to, go out into an overworld, kill a few things, pick up a few echoes, feel like you're collecting Pokemon, uh, hit those builds hard if you want to be a try hard, or just, it's not that hard to build a decent build in this game either. You don't have to go perfect stats or min max. You can just pick up a few, get a set bonus, make sure you have like some decent stats on there, and you should be able to at least enjoy the game and maybe get through some of the end game. The end game itself, very, very enticing. All right. Now I do hope they release more endgame and different endgame styles, uh, within the next few patches, right? Because at some point we're gonna be, world level 70 or UL 70, whatever they call in this, and we're gonna be banging through this like there's no tomorrow. It's gonna be literally paper. So as long as they keep up with the endgame, kind of like how Honkai Star Rail does with Simulated Universe, we'll be fine. Overall, I thought this was going to be a lot worse than it actually was, just because the last few times I watched IGN reviews, I highly disagreed with their take. I do disagree with the 7, but not that far off. You know what I mean? It's still a good game, especially for a gacha game. Don't put that in consideration here. This isn't AAA. This is a gacha game. It's made by a bigger company, but not Hoyoverse big, just big. Um, it's really hard to disagree with a lot of those takes either, because it's true. It's true. So I think he did a fabulous job. All right. I disagree with the 7. I like to go an 8, but maybe I'm easy to please. Who knows? Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment down below. What do you guys think? Do you agree with their take? Do you think they're just gaslighting it, or do you think they're on the money? Let me know. This has been Magna. I hope you have a great day. Catch you later.